the change. Be the change. We can be the change.
Thank you all for always inviting me back and putting up with whatever weirdness comes to me. Yes. Thank you. I'm so grateful to the board and to Reverend Rose, wherever she is in the universe right now, just for an opportunity to come and share what Spirit has spoken to me. Usually on Sunday mornings, when I have to speak somewhere, I get up real early, and real is like around 5 o'clock, and it's real around 5 o'clock. And this morning I got up and I had this very clear memory of my mom. She would get up real early in the morning and she would start to stir around in the kitchen. There was a time that she would pray, she'd sing, and in the middle of that, the outcome of that would be the manifestation of some bacon and some eggs and some grits and things like that. That didn't happen in my house this morning. But I waited just to see. But I remember the song that my mom used to sing. And I'm going to change a few words of it around so it fits our purpose and our gathering this morning. But every now and then I would hear her just on the wings of the morning, and I would hear, "Victory is mine, victory is mine, victory today is mine. I told defeat, get thee behind, victory today is mine." She'd say, "Love is mine, love is mine, love today is mine. I told despair, get thee behind, love today is mine." This is my favorite. "Peace is mine, peace is mine, peace today is mine. I told worry, get thee behind, and peace today is mine." And so I hummed that all the way down to 528. So I didn't have any cows in the road and no drawbridges in my way or none of that. And so today the topic is called answering service. Now, here's the thing that's always funny. I know months in advance when I'm going to come hang out with y'all. But the email of what you're going to talk about is always a surprise to me. And so I replied with answering service, because there is something about answering questions and answering people. But there's something special today about service and being of service to others. So whether you are a veteran or not, that there is a level of service that unfolds in our lives, whether we want it to or we know it will or not. But when I thought about an answering service, the answering service is something that when I'm too busy to do what it is I'm supposed to do, there is something that speaks for me. And this morning, as I was sitting and poring over my notes, some of the stuff I couldn't believe I wrote, but I wrote it. And I thought about what an answering service would be in a spiritual perspective. So I'm going to endeavor to do something that I have never done on a Sunday morning before. And I'm going to talk about Unity's 5 principles, because they serve sort of as an answering service when we are preoccupied with our lives and our own personal stories. And I've never done this in a talk. I've written about them. I've done all sorts of things from a school perspective. But say it out loud in a room with other people who are as tall as me, not so much. So the theme that I want us to hold on to this morning is how we have the opportunity, moment by moment, to be of service to others. So the first unity principle, and I'm using the ones that we use to teach the kids because they're actually easier to understand, at least for me. And it says that God is all good and active in everything, everywhere. Now, how many times have you caught yourself, somebody will say something to you and you're like, oh, it's all good? Yeah, I do it a lot too. And sometimes it is all good. Sometimes it's just that I better say it's all good because I can't say what I'm really thinking. But when I think about the idea that God is all good and active in everything, everywhere, this statement helped me really understand how to trust in the divine. Which means I am willing to trust in the God, not so much of the God of vengeance that we find the stories of in the Hebrew Bible, because God was pretty angry about some stuff back in the day. Or even to fast forward to the New Testament and revert to the stories about a God of love. But I choose to learn to trust the God of the now moment. Because that presence of the divine is fully available to me in the now moment. I don't have to borrow it from a sermon I heard on a Sunday. I don't have to borrow it from something I heard my mom or my grandmother say. I can simply be present and trust that God is all good. That God is not out to get me. That God is not setting me up with some weirdness to say so I can fail and pop up and go, gotcha. No, I trust in the simple thing. God is. And so when I look at this in terms of how does this serve as an answering service for me, it serves in this way. That if I can just land on the premise that God is, no matter what comes my way, then I don't have to rely on my own intellect. I don't worry about the impact of my words or how I show up in that moment. I just land on the fact that whatever is happening around me, that God just is. And if I can follow that thread through the moment, then I can land in a space of reverence, a space of honor, a space of peace. And so the second principle, this one's fun. I am naturally good because God's divinity is in me and in everyone. This one taught me the lesson, and it's a simple one. Get out of the way. I had to move so that the presence of the divine in me could connect with the divine in others. When I was a little kid, we had one of those floor model TVs, and every now and then I'd stand up for whatever reason, and my brother would say, hey, Dad's not a glass maker. We can't see through you. Get out of the way. And so every now and then, the personality, the ego, all of those parts of me that wants to be right and doesn't want to be wrong has to get out of the way so that that presence of the divine in me can serve as an answering service for the divine in other people without judging whether or not it's in there. Just trust that if there's some goodness in here, it's sure enough some goodness out there. And so I affirm that the good stuff in here and in there, I affirm that that is an answering service that reminds me to just hold on because it's in there. Wait for the goodness. That's how this idea of whether or not and how I answer is of service to myself and of others. Sometimes, friends, the best gift that we could ever give another person is to wait for them. I used to work with children. It was my very first job. It was the one that I did not like at all. My parents decided it was a good idea that I major in elementary education, and then they locked me up in the room with other people's kids for 8 hours and said, it's good. Yeah, that was fun. Did that for a whole 365 days. And the thing about that is in working with them, I had the kids that felt like nobody else wanted them. And at the end of the year, when we were wrapping up our studies, my supervisor came around and she would work with the kids and sit with them and go, what did Miss Beasley teach you? What was one of the best things that you learned? And one of the students said to me, she waited for me. No matter the lesson, no matter how hard it was for me, or no matter how everybody else caught it or didn't, she would wait for me. That had a lasting impact upon my life because I didn't know that in that moment I was being of service to another person, but I was. The third principle, I create my experiences by what I choose to think, what I feel, and believe. We can't go blaming other people. We create our own experiences. The lesson to me is that we are more powerful than we know, and that we are capable not just of doing and being, that we are more than just makers. So I wanted to understand the difference between the creator and the maker, and here's what the internet had to say about that. The internet says that when something is created, it is brought into existence out of nothing. When something is made, it is formed out of something that already exists. We are so much more powerful than we think, because we have the power to do what so many other people have not realized they can do. It was Michael Beckwith who said that out of nothing and nowhere a way can be made. And I had a teacher who gave us a few random Latin words, and every time now and then when I want to sound smart, I'll throw one of those Latin phrases out. But the Latin phrase I want to share with you this morning is ex nihilo. Ex means out of, and we see it like exit, extreme. Nihilo means nothing, out of nothing. We can make something out of nothing. You're talking about cool? Making something out of nothing, that is amazing. Because when we do that, we affirm that we are creative, and we reserve the right to change our mind, our thoughts, our beliefs based on a new awareness. I never knew that this idea that people used to say about women, about we change our mind too much. But when we have a new awareness, we can create yet again out of nothing our own thought process, which will guide us through any moment. We can change our thought process, which has the power to connect us to other people. We can change what we believe in the moment. Because when people ask me what I believe, I go, you have to kind of catch me, because that thing is fluid. When you ask me what I believe, check the date and check the time. Because if you ask me tomorrow, it might be slightly different, because I have a new awareness that has come my way. Our fourth principle is through affirmative prayer and meditation, I connect with God and bring out all of the good in my life. Now, I've had moments, I don't know about y'all, I've had moments where I couldn't find the good. It wasn't in the back of the closet next to the box, mine is too big, too small. It wasn't in the garage with Christmas decoration, and it certainly wasn't in the trunk of the car with the 8 changes of clothes that I carry around with me. I couldn't find the goodness in my own life, as my mother would say, if I had a map. I couldn't do it. The lesson that this principle taught me is that when I am aware of my active connection to God, that I am in the flow of goodness. There's just something about having a level of awareness of where we are, who we are, how we are, whenever we are. Because when I connect to God, I am in the flow of goodness. And it's not this flow that, back in the day where we thought God hung out in the clouds, this flow that comes down. No, there's a flow within, and then a flow that moves out from beyond our being. My goal in that moment is to maintain that connection and not drop that call, because I always want to be in the flow of goodness. It feels good, it smells good, it tastes good. It's like waking up just before Christmas dinner, and you got all the smells and all the feels and all the goodness. It's right there. And the key that I use to recognize where I am is a key called clarity. Clarity has helped me to realize that no matter how I feel, what I think I think about other things, that I am always surrounded by a measure of goodness. But if I am willing to stop and realize that, I have an opportunity to be of greater service to others. Our final principle, I do my best by living the truth that I know. I make a difference. Living the truth that I know, that doesn't mean that I live Unity's truth. It doesn't mean that I live my parents' truth. It doesn't mean that I live Reverend Rose's truth. It means that I live from the truth that the very soul of me knows. There's a passage in the book of Isaiah that says that I called you. I know you. I have called you by name. In that moment of being created and called by name by the divine, that's the origin of the truth that I know. It's not that small t truth, truth versus a lie. It's that truth where if you do this, you plant your feet, put your hands on your hips, And you just kind of look out and you can hear dun dun dun. It's that truth that flows through you in that moment when you establish your power. It's the truth that you know. There's a lot of things that I have had a chance to learn and things that I have forgotten. But one thing that has never left me is my name. I had to learn my name somewhere around 2 or 3, because at least if they said it, I'd at least stop and look in that direction. But I have never wavered on what my name is. That is the way that when we have that presence and connection to the truth of our soul, we don't waver in the knowing of that. It doesn't matter what comes our way or who comes our way and what gifts they bring. We live from the truth that we know. And when we live from there, we can declare for ourselves that I am a difference maker. A difference is made whether I know it, anybody ever tells me, just because I was in the room and living from that truth. Someone who may have had a question, who had a thought, had an experience of me living from my truth, therefore, they now know that they can do the same. The truth that my soul knows comes from the knowing that I was created out of love, by love, and to be love in any given moment. And when we do these things, these 5 principles, as cool as they are, that God is all good, I am naturally good, I have the power to create experiences and so much more, that I can connect to God and bring out all the good in my life, and that I am a difference maker. All of these things can serve to answer questions and support others around us, whether we know it or not. As we go from this place, I want to invite you to hold on to whatever fragments of light that you have seen today, and to allow those things to stand for you, to speak through you, to come to life in your presence as a benefit and a service to others. All because you chose to simply answer the question of, you going to church today? Yes, you're here. So thank you for tolerating me and my twisted annex on answering service, and also for understanding that if you remember nothing else, today, victory is mine. Victory today is mine. Amen, and so it is.